Everyone is in from the waiting room, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order on March 21st at 6:01 p.m. And before we open it up to public comment, I just want to make a little announcement that the board has had an extensive discussion and agreed that the sale of Long Beach is not an option it will be proceeding with. We have discussed at length in executive session that the course of action we are taking is a balanced approach, taking consideration from the residents of Rockport and the options committee. The board is working to make sure the town is protected as well as the homes of the Long Beach residents. We will have further information in the near future as we work out additional details. Again, this is from executive session, so I'll not be taking any questions on that matter. And with that, I'll open up to public comment. All right, I see Eric.
Thank you. Chairman Brackett. It's not associated with that, but it is tangentially, as you know, from the meeting just a few minutes ago with the DPW. I just would like to take this opportunity to bring up some recommendations and comments I have on the development of a municipal vulnerability grant for Rockport. I think many of you know, I've been reaching out for a couple of months now, offering my assistance and/or just trying to find out what's going on in this process. And yeah, I understand we have a pre-application into the state, but what I would strongly like to, I've reached out to commission members on the Conservation Commission, and they're not remotely in the loop and know what's going on. The DPW commissioners actually this afternoon said, I got reaffirmed, don't know what's going on, and they feel like it would be valuable for them to be involved. The Ad Hoc Water Committee is looking at storm surge impacts on Flatledge Quarry. There's been no outreach to us. I've actually not found a single resident of Rockport that's involved with the process of developing this grant. And I would like to suggest strongly, from my background, I think you all know, my work for 25 years is providing technical assistance and grants for coastal resiliency. That is what I have done professionally for 25 years. And I'm very familiar with the MVP grant process. I've worked with it since its inception. Public involvement at the inception of the development of the ideas is really valuable. It doesn't mean we need public meetings, but engagement of the boards and committees that work in Rockport on the very issues that deal with municipal vulnerability. The DPW knows what they have to fix. The Conservation Commission knows about the storm damage. Ad Hoc Water Committee understands that a storm surge could go into Flatledge. All of them have expressed, at least to me individually and on committee level, they would like to be in this loop, but there's not been any cross communication other than, could you write a letter of support? So I'd like to strongly recommend, we've really failed in getting grants in this arena for years now. And we're behind most other towns in the northeast part of the state. We should be putting our best foot forward. And I would like to recommend that some level of engagement is done with boards and committees at the very least, and staff to help give us the best successful chance we have at getting an important grant for what is something that, as you all know, people are screaming about more than ever. So anyway, that's my comment. I've been sinking my teeth into this for a while now, but I'm not seeing any engagement. And by the way, I got 4 phone calls from people who called me up and said they were asked to write a letter of support. Could you tell me about this, Eric? So people are calling me up to find out what's going on. And I'm like, all I know is some things being put together, and the last I heard is they're going to get an application in. But I think there should be public involvement from the boards and committees that this matters to, and some level of public. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let town administrator touch on that, as he's the one that's involved in getting
Sure.
it written.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So as you're aware, the public process, there is a significant public process involved with the MVP program at the appropriate time. Simply drafting the application is something that we've engaged a consultant for, because these types of grants have been a challenge for us in the past. So we are engaging a consultant who is deeply tied into the MVP program to work with us on it so that we can maximize our options for success. DPW is well aware. I can't speak for the commissioners. The staff are all well aware. So that's something that they'll need to discuss. When there's the appropriate time and place, there's required, and even beyond that, we expect we'll be deeply engaging with folks when the time is right. We're in the pre-application phase right now, and there isn't anything that's needed at this moment. And if folks are calling with questions or concerns, they should be referred to the Selectman's office or to speak with John Lopez.
All right. Thank you. And next up is Toby.
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. I gather that Jason Shaw, Chair of the Planning Board, is on the agenda later to talk about the Planning Board's further plans for zoning changes to suit the state, their changes under Chapter 3A. At the Maytown meeting, we were led, I would say misled, into voting for a new zoning overlay district for the train station. I call it the instant slum at the train station. Its proper name is the Transportation Oriented Village Overlay District. As it turns out, to suit the state, all of that is, if any of it is built, is by right, not by special permit. And what it says in the zoning code, the pathetic section that we have on affordable housing, which is entitled Housing Balance, and it's section Roman numeral 6K. I'll read it, the first paragraph of it. Housing balance. In order to assure that new residential development being granted special consideration under the zoning bylaw will, at minimum, meet its own share of providing for the diversity and balance of housing in Rockport, the following shall be complied with by all housing developments authorized by special permits. The key words there are special permits, and everything that follows in that section, 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs relating to different things, all of it depends and is only keyed in if you have to have a special permit. And the zoning that we voted at the planning board's behest at the train station is zoning by right. In order to meet the state standards, it had to be. And what unfortunately follows from that is that if anything is built at the train station, any of the 120 or plus units that might be built, none of it will be affordable housing. When you get to talk to Jason Shaw, you might care to ask him about that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no more, we'll move on to the consent agenda. If I have a motion, the consent agenda consists of approval of minutes, if any, 2023 license and permit approvals, consider acceptance of Comfort Dog monetary donations, and consider approval of EMS Day 2023. I'll take a
I do,
motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve all non-held items on the consent agenda. Excuse me.
And do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
All right, roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Just to, as everyone is aware, we have 5 members, but 2 of them are out right now, so that's why you get us 3 tonight. Next up is the interview and consideration appointment of Ellen Lington. I usually have to pronounce that for me. I'm not good. Lington. I'm not good with names. To the Millbrook Meadow Committee. Is she here tonight with us?
Mr. Chair, Ellen is here, as is I think Sam and Laura. Laura's here from Millbrook to support that. I met with Ellen today. We had a great conversation, and she's before you this evening for your consideration and discussion.
All righty. How you doing, Ellen?
I'm good, thank you.
Do you want to give us a little rundown on why you're expressing interest in joining the committee?
I am at a point in my life where I am happy and wanting to participate more in town activities. I've been involved with the Meadow for a couple of years on a peripheral basis. I've been on the watering committee, so I've become more involved and more knowledgeable about what goes on there. And and they invited me to consider joining. I've attended several meetings and I feel comfortable with the responsibility. So I'm hoping that you will give me the chance to participate.
Right, thank you. I'll let Laura say a few words if she'd like before we open up for questions.
Okay, so just Ellen's been very helpful and she's down in the meadow all the time and I know her to be a very responsible person and have good ideas. So I think she's going to be a terrific member.
All right, any questions from the board?
Uh,
I didn't
Sam
see Sam.
Colburn, I echo Laura's good words about Ellen. Ellen's a tremendous prospect for us. She helped me the last committee meeting with her career-wide ability and as a tech writer. And so I think she's got a lot of talent and she'll be a good addition to the committee.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
No, I fully appreciate the fact that they've stepped forward. All good.
All right, I'll ask one question. Do you have any big plans to change Millbrook Meadow, or do you like it the way it is?
I think that the job that's been done there is phenomenal. And I think that the important part of the going forward is to make sure it stays the amazing facility that it is and available to the public. So no, I'm not looking to change anything.
Awesome. All right, with that, I'll take a motion. Unless Sarah, you want to say a few words?
Well, sure. I was just going to say that I work with Ellen and my volunteer work at the Yacht Club, and I think she'll be a fantastic member of the Millbrook Meadow Committee. And Millbrook Meadow Committee does a great job of hoarding volunteers. they recruit and get such great people. So so thanks, Ellen, for stepping forward. Nice to see you, Laura and Sam, tonight. I will happy to make the motion. Let's see. Mr. Chair, I move that the board appoint Ellen Liddington to the Millbrook Meadow Committee for a term to expire on June 30th, 2023, subject to the board's, committees, commissions membership policy.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Congratulations, Ellen.
Thank
Now you can
you.
get to work.
I'm a little confused. It expires in June of 2023.
Yeah, so we
There'll
have to set the terms. So you'll be set up, you'll be asked for a reappointment in June. We have to keep the terms staggered across the committee,
Okay.
so you'll be up
Okay.
for a full term
I
at
just
that point.
wondered if that was a miss.
Nope, that's so we keep the
Pronunciate it.
terms appropriately separated.
Yeah,
Really?
I should have said that before I made the motion, and then you don't have to return in June.
Well, that's fine. I'll return in June. I just it was curious because that's
Yeah.
only a few months away. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks
Thank
all
you.
for the kind words and the support.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you.
It's nice to see you guys.
All right, next up is the interview and consideration of appointments for the Affordable Housing Trust. I think we have 6
You do,
applicants
Mr.
today.
Chair. You have 6 applicants in front of you this evening, Mr. Chair. Let me just pull up the list. So there are 6. I spoke with 6 individuals, Peter Souza, Ken Kaiser, Amy Beaton, Diane Vella, Bob Simmons, and Michelle Allison Elwell. I believe you've got most, if not all, on right now. I just don't see Bob yet. So, Mr. Chair, all are in front of you. All are fine through the pre-screen for the board's consideration this evening.
All right, if you
would
want,
you
we
like
can
to start
take
with?
them, we can take them in the order that we received. If you have it readily available.
I don't have the exact order that they came in front of me.
All right, whatever order, we can go whatever order you have then in front of you.
The order that I have them in front of me was how I interviewed them at the time slots. Peter Souza.
All right, start with Peter. Hey, we'll get you unmuted. 1
Muted.
second. Yep, there you go.
There we go. Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm doing
Um,
okay. Thanks.
You can
Thanks
just
for having me.
start out letting us know why you're interested in the Affordable Housing Trust.
Sure. So basically, I've worked in the realm of public service for about a decade, working with people who have disabilities and primarily brain injuries. And I've worked with elders for the last 5 years. I work for the Protective Services Department of Senior Care. And one of our main goals is, or one of the main things we see is a lot of people having to deal with housing issues, particularly there not being enough housing, trying to keep housing, where are they going to live, getting the homeless population housed if possible. And just, my understanding of this is that essentially it's an opportunity to help shape what the future of affordable housing might be in Rockport and help to provide opportunity and insight into what that might look like. What I was saying to Mitch during the interview was, for me, it's sort of, I'm in my mid-30s. I've done this type of work for, again, about a decade, a little more. And it's one of those things that I feel like if I could make an impact now, I would get to see it grow and sort of help shape how this would look for people. And right now at this point, it sounds like it's sort of a blank slate, and getting in and looking at what the vision of something like this might be just would be a great opportunity to serve the town. And it sounds right up my alley. So I thought I would be a good candidate for it.
All right, thank you. With all the talk about the vision, my question is, what do you see the vision of affordable housing in Rockport if you're able to see it
If I
now
could
without
picture
having
it?
yeah, if you could picture it.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's hard to say because we have such a transitional population right now. I think, primarily right now it's weighted towards elders, and that's sort of my population of who I view as people right now, particularly who are often in need of housing. So I always envision, more broader housing for elders when they do reach a point when that's what they need. Maybe they need to downsize, maybe something happens, maybe they lose a spouse and they can no longer afford their house. What opportunities are there for people to try to remain in their own town? Because, you live your whole life in a place and then you're forced to choose, like, do I want to try to hang on to what I have now, or can I move into something more affordable? And just anything that is available right now that tends to be difficult for people. So that sort of access would be great. And I mean, again, it's sort of like it's hard to see because of the fact that there's a lot of time that is to elapse for these things to take shape and different opportunities that might arise. But I would like to envision a place where there might be able to be more affordable housing for working families in the town, and sort of keep that vision of Rockport as well, because it's, there's a lot of people who are struggling to live here, and a more affordable option that they might be able to take advantage of would be key to keeping this community vibrant and keeping people able to live here and keeping the schools vibrant, and just, really keeping Rockport a great family place. I mean, I've been lucky and happy enough to live here for the last 10 years or so, and I would love to see more people have this opportunity. And I think that a lot of the times people get priced out of living in such a wonderful place.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the board?
No, I mean, I think it's, oh, sorry, I was going to say Paul can go, and then I think it'd be
No,
great.
no, go right ahead, Sarah.
No, I was just going to say, I think it'd be great if we ask those same questions to all the candidates. I think that'd be perfect.
George Selectman Murphy.
I was going to say the exact same thing, so.
All right, so no more questions? All right, thank you, Peter.
Okay.
Thank
you
you,
guys.
On to the next
Peter.
one. All right, next step, Mitch.
Mr. Chair, next up, Ken Kaiser.
All right, Matthew Ken. Get him unmuted.
Hi, and thank you all for considering me for this. I've been interested in affordable housing for quite some time. And Peter Souza actually put it very eloquently. There's not too much to add to what he had to say, actually. But I'm very interested in serving on the Affordable Housing Trust because I think it can really be the finally serve as the impetus to really get something done in Rockport on affordable housing. The Affordable Housing Trust, as it's been voted at the
town meeting a number of years ago, has a lot of ability to raise funds, to work with putting together a housing production plan, which will allow us to take an inventory of our housing needs and to work on a plan to achieve, to establish goals and then to work on a plan to achieve those goals. And I would very much like to be a part of that, to see that things really get done.
All right, thank you. So I'll ask the same question, of course, and what's your vision of affordable housing for Rockport?
Well, I would like to see more younger families in Rockport. I'd like to see, as said earlier, I'd like to see the elders be able to stay in Rockport when they retire and they are on lower levels of income than they've had before. I think it's very important to put together the housing production plan so we can really have an inventory and see what our needs are. And I understand that we now have a consultant lined up to do that. And once this is done, we can really start to work toward those goals.
Thank you. And I'll just confirm again, no questions from the rest of the board, right? All right. So thank you for that, Ken. Mitch, we'll move on to the next one.
Amy Beaton, Mr. Chair.
Alrighty.
Okay, hi, everybody.
Hey, how are we doing, Amy?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
Good. So I spoke to Ken last weekend. He approached me about this, and I think it's great that Rockport has established the Affordable Housing Trust. I sell real estate. I have been selling real estate here for 18 years or so, but I also work as the homeownership coordinator for the Gloucester Housing Authority. So I do a lot of work with people. I teach first-time homebuyer classes, but I do a lot of work with people who are looking into affordable housing opportunities. So I've learned a lot about affordable housing that's available in the state, how people can access it. But certainly we are a tiny community and we have a tiny fraction of affordable housing for people. So my vision, to get ahead of you, is that I would like to see that there is less resistance to it in town and a clearer understanding of what it is, and have it available, yes, for elderly, for families, for people, you know, whether it's single bedrooms being built, 2 bedrooms being built, whatever it is, but having to allow some construction in town that would allow for, or require, you know, after a certain amount of construction, a certain percentage of that is required to be affordable housing. So I think it would be a great way to make it available for people and again, get a clear understanding for people to you know, affordable housing is different than public housing. It's different than other forms of housing. It's, you know, you're earning under a certain income and therefore you're eligible for basically a discounted sales price, and you have to then sell it back at a discounted sales price. So it's just allowing people to get into home ownership, because right now our prices are so crazy that I think there's many people that own homes here that would not be able to buy a home here now. So it would allow people to get into home ownership and stay in the town.
All right. Thank you, Amy. And Mitch, we'll move on to the next.
Can I
candidate.
actually,
Yeah.
Ross, do you mind if I ask Amy just a specific question? Hi, Amy,
Yep.
nice to see you.
Hi, Sarah, nice to see you.
So we actually have had 2 realtors express interest, which I think is awesome. Can you touch a little bit? And I was so fascinated to see your work with the Gloucester Housing Authority, which I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Can you touch a little bit about the unique role that obviously a realtor plays in these trusts? Because, you know, obviously realtors are typically trying to get, you know, the highest price for a seller, right?
Correct, but yes, they are, because we owe duties to our sellers and our buyers. So
Right.
we're trying to get the best prices for our buyers at a discount maybe, and the best for our sellers. But at the same time, understanding that market value is by definition what a willing buyer and a willing seller agree upon. So we're only establishing prices based on sales, past sales. However, with that said, there's no question in these years that I've been selling real estate, we've seen like just massive price growth in the properties here. So that there's even just a starter fixer upper isn't really affordable for a lot of people.
Right.
And having worked at the housing authority and seeing what the numbers are, for instance, like a family of two, if you have a single mom and one child, you can't earn more than 89,000 and change a year if you earn less than that, you qualify for affordable housing. That's a pretty significant income, especially in our area, I think. So you're talking about people that are working, people that are earning, but they don't earn enough to buy an $800,000 house.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. And the fact that you touched on educating townspeople, because people so often say to me, I don't want affordable housing in my backyard. I don't want people who are too lazy to work. There are just so many misconceptions about it.
Not even close.
So I think that your kind of unique perspective will be really, really helpful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
All right,
Maybe,
Mitch.
Mr. Chair, Diane Vella.
All right. You're unmuted. There you go. How you doing, Diane?
Good. Hi, thank you for this interview, Chairman Brackett and the rest of the smaller select board tonight. I think I stand in a pretty unique position in that I'm just a regular citizen here in Rockport, but I am a community organizer. I'm one of the founding members of the Rockport Affordable Housing Coalition, where we produced 2 educational events for the citizens of Rockport and had over 150 people participate, which is a lot for our small town. So, my background brings me into community organizing and working with boards and adult education, if you will. So one of the things that I think that the trust should think about doing is kind of in the same area that Eric Hutchinson was talking about, is to talk to the different boards and committees, the different neighborhood organizations that have sprung up, to do our research and what in kind of like communities, how they have been successful. In my own research and looking into the Affordable Housing Trust, there's many things that we can do besides building. If that's, we can start with different kinds of things that I think we should look at. So I would hope that, like Ken said, that we would take some time to really look into what our intentions are as a group, when we come together as a group. To listen to the HPP, to listen to a town planner, which I'm hoping that we get going, and take into consideration a long-term roadmap and an action plan, that we don't make decisions right out of the gate, but we give some strong support to listening first. And my vision, very similar to in some ways the others, but my vision here is to diversify this community. And I mean diversify in terms of income, in terms of generations, in terms of race, in terms of economics, that I think that would bring that kind of diversity would bring a beautiful influx of energy into Rockport that we could use. And the only way we can do that is to be able to provide housing for lots of different folks who would like to live here. It can't just be wealthy people, and it can't just be people that have lived here for 3 generations. That there's lots of folks out there that would like to share the beauty of this. So diversity is important to me. Anything else?
I don't think so.
I just want to say, I think I concur with you. You know, this isn't for the wealthy, and so we want to make it for everyone here in Rockport. So I appreciate that comment.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Diane.
Hey, Mr. Chair, Michelle Allison Elwell.
All right. Let me just find that she is. How are you doing tonight, Michelle?
I'm doing good, Ross. How are you?
Good. All right. Why don't you start by telling us why you express interest in this committee or trust?
Okay, well, I am expressing interest because I feel that I have a real pulse on the town of Rockport and Cape Ann for the need for different types of housing. I've lived in Rockport for 30 years. I've lived downtown. And then when I got divorced and became a single mother by choice, I lived at the Sandy Bay Estates with my child. Rockport has a lot of older homes that may have lead-based paint, plaster, or putty in it. So I wasn't able to move into a regular Section 8 apartment for my son and I because of his age. So once he was able to be old enough, I rented an apartment in the Cove. I am not only a resident, I'm also a realtor. And I have a lot of experience with selling affordable housing. Most of my sales are condos and smaller homes. I deal with buyers. I'm mostly a strong buyer agent for the past 19 years. And I try to find buyers deals. I have also sold affordable housing in Rockport. The best deals, one of the best deals this year, I sold in Pigeon Cove not too long ago for $600,000. And that is a nice young couple who is living in town now that will start a family. I also sold the most affordable house in Rockport last year up on Great Hill that did sell a little bit over asking, and I sold that for $420,000. Very hard to find in this town. Affordable condos and homes in Gloucester. I have sold 2 homes, one in Rockport, to Section 8 buyers who were in the saving program. Through Section 8, they help to match part of their rent into a savings account that allowed this young mother and her sons to be able to become a first-time home buyer in Rockport and live here with her sons. So it's great. I have a vision of taking care of people in our town. And we have a great need for housing, maybe not so much as some towns for young adults age 83, with some of the homelessness that's happening in other areas that we may not see here. But we do have to represent all the different generations. We have a lot of elderly people that live here. Many of them do not have children. Some of them have outlived their children. It's beginning to get hard to live in a home with stairs or a bathtub, you know, not having a walk-in shower. So I think that if we work together with some ideas, we can come together as a village within the community and work together to solve some of these issues with making everything inclusive, but keeping in mind the integrity of the town and the character of the town. I have lots of ideas and things I would really love to see right now. If we could do this, have an over 55 active community or perhaps what's really important, I think here, I've been working with a lot of seniors. Over the pandemic, I took on a second job. So besides just being a realtor, I was working for Connected Home Care. And I was working, going grocery shopping for seniors and helping them in their home. And I got to see a lot of people that need first floor living or a small apartment with an elevator. We have a tremendous amount of people that may not just be a senior, but have mobility issues. They've been waiting 5 years to try to get into a first floor at Millbrook Park or up at the Ledges. They're dying while they're waiting for one of these apartments. We need to take care of our seniors. We need to take care of our veterans and our mobility challenged people. And I think there's a way for us to do that, whether it's creating extra housing in the overlay district, allowing, in-law or accessory dwelling to be added to within the house or beside it, attached. I am also on the North Shore Association of Realtors Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion Committee. And so I have an idea of what other communities are doing on the North Shore. And some of those ideas could fit well for Rockport, others not. But it does start with educating the public to let them know these are working people. These are people in our community that help to make it go. These are our DPW workers. These are our teachers. These are our recess monitors, DPW workers, town clerks, anybody that lives here that it takes more than 2 paychecks to pay their rent or their mortgage. That is affordable housing. These are working people. They just need just about 3 paychecks or maybe more to make that housing payment. Now, we, as a realtor, not a resident, and what I'm seeing is we've had a lot of new people move to town over the past 10 years. And yes, I'm a Washer Shore too. And it's great. It's great to have diversity. It takes diversity to keep the town going and working. And we need to do something to allow people that are going to work in our town, work at the shops, work at helping people in their homes, working at the restaurants. They want to live here too. Everybody deserves to be able to have a nice, clean, safe community to live in and to raise a family. And our seniors deserve to have safe living with dignity. I would love to see an independent or assisted living facility in Rockport for our people. And then perhaps maybe some of these seniors that are having a tough time living in the homes that they live in, perhaps those to some Rockport families at a price and keep them affordable and a deed restriction, or just find crafty ways to make this work, because I really think that we can do it and we can get the numbers up. We can be creative here. We just need to educate and come together and plan.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Mitch, next
Okay,
up.
and Bob Simmons.
Hi, how you
How you
doing?
doing, Bob? All right, we're just, I don't know if you caught the beginning, but we're just having run down why you expressed interest in the Affordable Housing Trust.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping that in some way I can extend my expertise in housing and in architecture and planning in those areas to sort of help Rockport at this really opportune time to sort of take advantage of some of the other things that are happening in town with the transit-oriented village overlay that we're contemplating, and work in affordable housing to that, as well as some of the other things that Rockport has done with the ADUs and other sort of forward-looking planning measures. So I think it's a great time to take advantage of this. I feel like I can help the town add to that with some knowledge I've had just dealing with a lot of public housing design, housing for the elderly design that I've done over the years, and just being able to be in a way a planning board liaison as well with some of the things that we're thinking about to further these goals of building more housing, but to build it in a thoughtful and planful way. And Rockport is sort of unique. We've got our own demographics and our own interesting sort of mix of people, ages, our industry. I'm also trying to think about the aspect of not just housing, but job creation and the job base and the tax base in the town, to see if we can get the town a little bit more energized in that aspect, because it's obviously easier to live and work in the same town as you can. That may not be MBTA's goals, for example, but I think a lot of the tax base has been trickling away, and I think the advent of COVID has taught us that we can live and work. We can work remotely, and it's changing sort of the whole field of living and working and that life balance, right? So now we can start thinking about people can extend their range from the city of Boston outward more because they're able to do that with their jobs. That's gonna be a shift in all of these communities in terms of how people live and work and where they live and work. I remember myself 30 years ago trying to decide whether I wanted to live in Ipswich or Rockport, and I just felt Rockport had less train service and Ipswich had more train service, and it was a middle stop, and I thought that's the town for me. And those kinds of choices we have to think about so that we can attract younger people with families, support our school systems, support our tax base, and think about housing and work as well together in sort of this quest for making a more vibrant village that we have here.
All right, thank you. My usual question is what you envision for affordable housing, but I kind of got that at the end of your speech there. But do you have anything you want to add on, how you really envision it for Rockport?
Well, I think it can be a combination of, as I said in some of the presentations I led the last few weeks, a combination of affordable with a capital A that adds to our base for Massachusetts and for 40B and all of those requirements, but we can make it real and more instantaneous, I think, with looking at creative ways to use the ADUs and other things that we have here in town. We have very small lot sizes, very compressed, dense downtown compared to a lot of New England villages, and we can use that to our advantage in creating some benefits, I think, for affordable housing.
All right, thank you. All right, I think that's everyone, right? Yep.
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you everyone for expressing interest. I'm going to turn over the board if they have any comments or any last questions they might want to ask any of the candidates.
This is so helpful. Thanks everyone for joining us. Tonight's one of those nights where we have like an embarrassment of riches, right? We literally beg people to fill committees, so much of the year, and then we have this, which is obviously so important, and we have more than the required number. So I know we could only appoint 4 tonight, because then so the committee the trust will have 5 members, and then the 5th will be a member of the Board of Selectmen, which hopefully we can deal with after we deal with these 4.
Mhm.
But Bob, your comments about the MBTA are so interesting. So it's so many different perspectives. When I was in grad school, my husband and I decided to move back to Rockport. I partially loved because Rockport's at the end of the line, and I could fall asleep on the train, and the conductor always woke me when we got to Rockport
Yeah.
because they wouldn't
Beginning
leave
of the
the
line.
train with anyone still on
Yeah,
it.
we have to look at that benefit, right?
Beginning of the line.
So it's so funny, but you know, and honestly, like the fact that we have the MBTA within walking distance of so many properties in Rockport is so helpful. But like you say, you know, post-COVID, so many of us are working from home now. So I think there's a lot there. So anyway, I just wanted just an aside there, but I'm feeling very rich with skill and talent tonight, and grateful that so many people are stepping forward to chip in and start to tackle this. So Paul, let you go.
Thank you. I concur with Selectman Wilkinson. We have a great selection of people, and thank you for stepping forward. And it's a complex issue that we're dealing with, but I love the fact that we have such a vast ability of people to join us. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, I hope that the people that don't get chosen tonight, that we can find a spot for them, another way for them to volunteer, which we often are able to do, because this is really important work and there's plenty of work to go around. But I also just, what an amazing cross section of people we have who have applied, which is really, really cool to see. So.
Yeah, all with their visions just about in line, but different enough where it will all come together in the end and hopefully help Rockport, you know, continue the great town that it is and allow other people to enjoy the town as we all get to. So with that, if I have a motion are we doing individual motions, or can we do one?
So,
large
Mr. Chair, you
motion?
have, you need to stagger terms. So holding the selectman seat aside, you've got 4 seats to fill. So you've got 1 for 2023, 1 for 2024, and 2 for 2025.
Alrighty. So if I have any motions, I'll take them now.
Would that be me?
If you'd like, yeah.
I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Amy Beaton, Peter Souza, Diane Villa, and Bob Simmons to a, what's up?
Do we need one for, I'm just trying to read this correct, 1 for 23, you said, or 2?
1 for 23, 1 for 24, and 2 for 25.
Okay, so we need one name first for to expire on June 30th, 2023.
So I think if Paul, a few of the motions like that don't have any names in them, obviously, but the motion has the dates in it that Mitch sent us, like the blank motions, I think you can take a stab at putting names into that.
Okay.
Because that has the dates, that has the staggered terms in it. So I think if you put that in, and then we can discuss.
For the terms to expire on the 30th of 2025?
No, so hold on.
Perhaps, Mr. Chair, if you want to take it one at a time, you've got, perhaps if you want to start with the 2023 seat.
Yeah,
like I said,
you can make
you've got blank
individual
motions,
motion.
but if we take it one at a time, if you want to do filling the through June 30th, 2023 seat first.
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Amy Beaton to a term to expire on June 30th, 2023.
All right, and then we have a second.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call vote. Selectman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries.
Okay, and I also move that the Selectmen appoint Peter Souza for a term to expire on June 30th, 2023.
You want 20?
I'm sorry.
24.
24.
Yep.
Okay. I'll second that.
Second, and that was Peter, right? You said?
Yeah.
Alrighty, and roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye, that was 24, right? I'm just trying to,
Yes,
I'm trying to take notes as okay, great.
Selectman Murphy,
yes, aye.
Selectman Brackett votes aye, motion carries.
Second one, third one would be I move that the selectmen approve Diane Villa to a term to expire on June 30th, 2024.
Do I have a second? All right. Roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye, motion carries. then I
And
think we
Mr.
need-
Chairman, I make the motion that we approve Bob Simmons for a term to expire on June 30th, 2024.
So I'll second that.
We want, then
Is
after
that-
we do a 25th one, right?
25.
25th,
25.
we need 25, yeah.
Oh,
I'll
I'm sorry.
make that over, right, say that one over with 25.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that we for 2025,
And the name again, just so I have it.
Bob Simmons.
Alrighty, and do I have a second?
2025.
I'll second that. This is the most confusing thing we've done in a
Yeah.
really long time.
So roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye, motion carries. And I think that covers it for residents, right? Yep.
Oh, yeah, and then.
Yeah, so that's 4. And then if you want to make a motion for Selectman Lilia, who has volunteered to be your representative.
Yeah, I'm happy to make that motion. Is that okay, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Yep, I know Selectman Lilia is away on a pre-planned family trip, but I'd love to. I move that the board designates Selectman Lilia as its representative on the trust. And I don't see a year. I'll just say as a representative on the trust.
He'd be 25.
He'd be coterminous with his selectman position.
Okay, so I think what I said is fine then. Great.
All right, and do I have a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye, motion carries. So again, thank you everyone that applied. Obviously we couldn't fit everyone on there, but there's plenty of committees that if you still express interest to help the town in different ways, we have plenty of openings right now, so I'd appreciate you also looking into those committees if you have time. Thank you again. All right, next up on the agenda is the planning board update for zoning articles and multifamily housing. I think I saw Jason here earlier. Is he still here?
Jason Chai is here, Mr. Chair.
Alrighty, there he is.
Hi, folks.
How you doing, Jason?
I'm well. How are you? Mr.
Good. So, if you want to give us a little rundown, my main question is, if you want to give us a little update on how your public hearing went, if you thought it went well, and how you think town meeting's gonna go based off your public hearing.
Okay, well, I'll start with that. Mitch, just a question. Does everyone have my letter of March 20?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. It hasn't been
All right.
formatted yet.
All right. So let's start with the meeting. I thought, obviously this was a little bit of apprehension here because this was a in-person meeting and not a Zoom meeting. And the reason we did it that way was because the board felt that, we had so many visuals to show because we have Bob Simmons and we have Peter Kuttner, both of whom are architects and very good at reducing concepts to visuals that, we had a lot to show. So we just could not you cannot really do that effectively over Zoom. It's very hard, especially to have people read it. So we did it in person and we were in the conference room A, and I have to say we had really a full house. All the seats were taken, standing room in the back. And it was I thought the meeting went very, very well. Obviously there were some people who were, in disagreement with some of the things that were being proposed, but by and large, the audience was, everyone was civil. They were very interested in seeing the visuals that we had presented for them. And I hope that when we get to the town meeting, that this will help in terms of answering people's questions. We didn't have any time limits on people's, what they could ask, and we went through a lot of stuff. So it went well. So what I've done since then, what I've done is, based on that meeting, and then we, after we closed the public hearing, we then discussed, the results, and based on that, I've done a final report of planning of the planning board with recommendations to your board about the warrant articles. We have actually starting with Article J. We have Article J through Article R. As you may recall, at the January town meeting of this year, we couldn't even get enough people for a quorum, and we ended up having to suspend the meeting, while we were talking about Article J. I think at the end of the day, that suspension turns out to be a good thing, because I believe that on April 1st, the meeting will have a far more representative group of people from across all interests in the town, and not just, a small group of people that obviously we couldn't even get a quorum that, appeared at the meeting. So, I can go through the various warrant articles. I don't want to belabor it. You have other items on the agenda, and just tell you quickly what we're proposing. And it's in the letter of March 20, 2003. It's pretty straightforward, and we'll go forward. One of the other things we did talk about at the meeting, which actually took a fair amount of time, we did talk about the MBTA communities as the state has set forth in their guidelines for under, I think it's section 3A of the Zoning Act of 2020. And this is the half-mile radius around the train station. And, we are supposed to zone for 657, based on our current housing, 657 multifamily units, 40% of which need to be within that half-mile radius. The other 60% can be outside of it, but that's coming up. The zoning, if we're going to comply with the requirements, has to be adopted by December of 2024. So we do have a little time, but we're in the process now of applying for a grant through the Department of Housing and Community Development for a grant for funds to hire a consultant specifically to assist the planning board in plotting how we're going to get, that number of multifamily units in the town. And that can be, by the way, that can be new, zoning in areas for new housing, or it can be existing. I mean, we might have a number of existing areas where we have what would be considered multifamily housing already. So it's a combination of the two. And we've already zoned for 160 multifamily units in the TOVOD around the train station. That zoning was adopted in last May of 2022. So we're really ahead of the game. In fact, I almost laughed, but I got a call a few days ago from the planning department in the city of Boston. They wanted to know how we did our 80 accessory dwelling unit law and how it's working, because they're working on the same thing. So, I mean, to me, that's a testament to the town of Rockport, we are ahead of the curve. And I hope that we can stay that way going forward. So I'll do whatever your pleasure is.
Yeah, I think that's good. If there's any questions from the board for Jason, I'll take those. I know my biggest question from what I heard from many of the residents is, do we know what exactly the town loses out on if these don't pass? Because I know that question comes up a lot, and it's always.
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. Chairman. Well, we know there are three grants that are actually listed in the regulations that would be that we would lose out on. One of them is a Mass Works grants, the other one is Housing Choice, and then the third I forget. But all these grants we wouldn't be able to seek anymore. And I know the state has actually already taken action against I think it's either Woburn or Waltham, and they actually cut off funding because they hadn't adopted their interim action plan, which we have, and ours has been approved already. But, what really kind of, I guess, created an issue is a statement from the Attorney General, which is now on our website, in which she says basically that the Attorney General thinks that this is a hugely important thing, increasing, the number of housing units in communities like ours. And she actually, I don't want to use the word threatened, but it sounded like it, that we will do whatever we take to make this happen, including bringing, legal actions against communities that don't comply. And that was pretty astounding to come from them because, I don't know whether they have the basis to do that, but that's what the Attorney General said. So, what could happen if this isn't adopted? It's evolving. And I guess the question is, do we want to be in a position in December of 2024 where we'll find out firsthand? Or do we want to have this and try to have this in place? That's going to be the question.
Right.
On the agenda for this town meeting, we're not talking about that at all. The only thing that is related to that, which is the warrant article J, which was being discussed when the town meeting was suspended back in January, that actually created the ability to have a two-family dwelling on 10,000 square feet in the R district down from 15,000 square feet. And, there was a lot of discussion. There was, it seemed like it was going to be contentious, but long story short, that reduction, that allowance of two-family from one, we found out from from our consultant at the time, MAPC, that the Department of Housing and Community Development would not accept that as going toward our multifamily housing quota, zoning quota. So what we've done is, look, if it won't go to that, there's no point in, like having a big contentious item on the agenda that won't even help us with our multifamily housing. So we've asked for this coming meeting to remove that item from the warrant article J and just leave it the way it is now, which is two-family dwellings require 15,000 square feet, and just get rid of it, because we'd be fighting over something that really wouldn't help us in terms of reaching what we really need to do, which is the multifamily housing. So, those are a couple of things we've done. There are a few things where we've actually, after the public hearing that we had March 9th, we've actually tweaked some of these zoning articles, and not in a big way, but just in a way that, might make them more palatable and, hopefully pass. I think we'll get a different crowd and many more people at April 1 than we had on January 18. I hope we do.
All right. Thank you for that. Any questions from the board? If not, it's really what I was just looking for, a little quick update. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have
So-
more questions. Everybody have a good night and I'll see you on,
April 1st. Sounds good. Thank you, Jason, again.
okay, thank you. Take care.
All right, next up is action items. Consider the board stances on annual town meeting warrant articles. And I know I've invited the lead petitioners for some of the citizens petitions to comment on or give a little update on what kind of petition they're bringing forward. And I think we plan to take that in the order they are listed on the warrant. Mitch, if you have that in front of you.
Mr. Chair, so the first citizens petition is the number of signatures. It's Article H, number of signatures for the special town meeting warrant, which would be Tom Meekis.
Alrighty, and just so the public knows, I will open it up to questions for if the public has any.
And Mr.
So-
Chair, we did indicate per your direction to each of the lead petitioners that they have 2 minutes for each of the
Alrighty.
articles.
Thank you. How you doing tonight, Tom?
Good, Russ, and I hear you're well as well.
Yep.
I can make this pretty quick, I think.
Alrighty.
You may notice that there's a lot of citizen petitions for this annual town meeting. And one of the reasons for this is because there's a low barrier to putting in a petition for annual town meeting, but a much higher barrier for the petitions to go to a fall town meeting or any other special meeting. So I understand the state law requires the select board to put on the annual town meeting warrant any petition with at least 10 verified signatures. However, for any other town meeting, including fall town meeting, it requires 100 verified signatures. So that's the barrier. And that's why you're seeing so many at annual town meeting and not so many at fall town meeting. I also understand the select board has the authority to put other articles on a warrant. So the idea here is to use the authority the board already has to designate that 20 signatures shall be sufficient, 20 verified signatures, to put on the warrant for fall town meeting or any other special meeting. So this can actually reduce the delay for citizens. If something comes up, say in May, you don't have to wait for next April to have it on a town meeting. You can do it in September. It also would move some of the petitions from annual town meeting to fall town meeting. And then we won't have so much congestion as we are looking at this April. So to sum up, I think the situation would be better for petitioners and have we hope a shorter annual town meeting for everyone.
All right, thank you, Tom. Do I have any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, just a note that council has indicated this one is non-binding because state law governs the amount of signatures.
Alrighty. All right, any questions from the board? If not, I'll open it up to the public if they have any questions on this article. All right, I'll open up to the public if any questions are. Oh. Seeing none. Oh, there's one. Michelle?
No.
Toby?
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. In the bylaws, it says, although it's not binding the way it's phrased, that the spring town meeting is for financial articles and the fall town meeting is for zoning and code of bylaws. So it's stacked against people who wish to bring articles to the fall town meeting. And I think that Tom's article is a good one. And if you wish to follow through on what it says, which is not binding in the bylaws, you would endorse it and approve it.
Right.
And you could do it by making it a policy to add to your policy on town meeting articles. It would not be binding and you could weasel out of it on a vote if you, for some reason, I can't imagine one, that you wanted to.
All right, thank you, Toby. Any other questions for Tom? All right, seeing none. I'll open up to the next petition.
Okay, Mr. Chair, the next petition is Article I, term limits.
All right, and I believe that was Jonathan Ring. No.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Mr. Ring, I believe, is not here this evening. He did
Alrighty.
forward the board information for your consideration.
Yep. Does the public have any comments they would like to make about the term limits article? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to the next one.
Next article, Mr. Chair, is Article S from Mr. Seppala regarding amendments to participation in debate in town meeting, chapter 2 of the bylaws. Mr. Seppala, I believe, is unavailable. He's indicated, but he did forward you information this afternoon directly.
Mhm. And this is the one that is for the moderator, or is just the
This impacts the move the
move
question
the question, yeah.
motion.
All right. And do I see any questions or comments about that article from the public? And does the board want to make any comments now about that article? Or the previous one? I didn't ask about the term limits one, but I know public has heard from us a lot about term limits.
Right.
Seeing none,
I'm looking forward to hearing the debate on town meeting floor.
alrighty. And then the next article, Mitch?
Mr. Chair, Article T from Mr. Seppala, it is seeking an amendment to the town charter, which would be special legislation relating to editing a portion of the special act relating to multiple offices.
Okay, yep. So that one, I'll touch on that because I know a little bit. I know him and the Government Bylaw Committee has agreed that he doesn't mind if it doesn't pass at this time because the government bylaw is bringing it forward in their entire and their entire proposal of the new bylaw changes coming in the I'm assuming fall town meeting. They're going to get those in. So with that, this just has to do with the designee for the Affordable Housing Trust, which as you've seen, we've only appointed one member, and the wording kind of would allow for 2 members of the board, but we're not going to do that. So if I have any comments about that from the public or the board themselves, let me know. Seeing none. All right, Mitch.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next is Article U from Mr. Seppala, impacting Chapter 7, the Affordable Housing Trust, removing the letter S from members and removing or designees after Board of Selectmen.
And this is the same ordeal with the governing bylaw that they bring. I might have confused the two there. They're bringing it forward, fall town meeting. So he said he doesn't mind, but he is part of a Rockport Civics League. So they voted to keep it in.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next is Article V, notice of anticipated motions from Mr. Arsenian.
All right, I know Toby's here tonight. So if he wants to touch on that a little bit.
Thank you, Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Certainly, it's polite and the proper thing to get the motions in the 48 hours before to the moderator. The hope would be that the moderator would be able to consider them, not be blindsided, and pass them on to town council if further advice was needed. But as you're all well aware, a great many people arrive at the town meeting at the last minute, never having gone to a committee meeting of any sort, not even having read the warrant. And those people have every bit as much right as members of your board, as people who've attended any number of committee or board meetings. And although it may be awkward for the moderator or town council, the moderator must have the quality of being able to think on his feet. Town council is paid to know everything as far as the law is concerned. If he has forgotten anything, he has a laptop and fingers, and there's the answer. And if you deprive people of the right to offer the amendments on the town meeting floor, you're depriving them of their rights as citizens, and you're also depriving the meeting of their possible insights. So it comes down to a question of whether it's more important the convenience and comfort of the moderator and council or the rights of citizens. And the answer should be obvious. Thank you.
All right, any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'll turn it over to the public. I know Bob's here if he wants to touch on that real quick. And what he thinks about it, but
Oh, I think there are several citizen petitions, and the result of which would tend to lengthen the meetings, and in trying to keep the most public participation, it's been my experience, and I've been told by many people that they want the meetings to move briskly. When I prior to becoming moderator, when I went to town meetings, there would be some amendment and it would cause everybody to stop, and the finance committee would have to do whatever they did, and town council would have to do whatever they did, and there would be long pauses. And sometimes these amendments were given, I think, for just their dramatic effect. And the way that is written does give discretion to the moderator, whoever that may be, to consider an amendment. But if it's practicable for somebody to provide that amendment ahead of time, that's what we're trying to encourage. So it's really trying to encourage behavior. I would note that Toby is a great adherent to it, and it has saved the meeting many hours over the years, because we get a chance to see his amendments ahead of time, and we can get them to the people in a position to act on them and to move the meeting forward. And I didn't comment earlier on the moving the question, but I would have to consider that along the same vein. I respect the meeting, and I think if there's a super majority that decides that they're done with debate, then I would hesitate to interfere with that.
all right.
So
Thank
those
you,
are my
Bob.
comments on those two, and be glad to touch on anything else you might have questions on.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the public? I hadn't seen it before. Seeing none now. All right, thank you, Toby. Next up, Mitch.
Okay, Mr. Chair, Article W, citizen petition relating to the explanation of non-binding articles. Mr. Arsenian.
All right. Toby, you're still on? Yep.
Am I on?
Yep.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. People, most of them don't have a chance to review the warrant beforehand, much less attend numerous committee meetings. You arrive at the town meeting and suddenly you're puzzled. Many things that come forward are complicated. And if there's anyone there who has the answers, that person should step forward. You can't force them to, which is why this is non-binding. That and the fact that we're told that the meeting is the moderator's meeting, not the citizens' meeting. Really, however it may be legally, it is the citizens' meeting. And if someone is there and has the information that you want and you ask for it, it's only common sense and good faith for that person to step forward. I had originally put in department heads as well, and for some strange reason, town council took that out of there. But since it is non-binding, the idea carries over and should encompass department heads as well. Everyone wants people to make an informed choice at the town meeting, and that's how you get informed. If you don't know beforehand, you ask questions. And my feeling is that you're entitled to answers.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions from the public or the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next one.
Hey, Mr. Chair, citizen petition, Article X, freedom to serve, the chapter 3 elected officers edits. Jenny Amory, I think, is here.
Yep. And is it two regarding this
There's
same
also
subject?
Article Y, which impacts chapter 6.
So if she wants to touch on both those,
Great.
that'd be great. Thank you,
Hi,
Jenny.
Yeah, sure. Nice to see everybody. So I just wanted to be brief, but the essence of the freedom to serve citizen articles is to really state Rockport voters' preference for residents to be able to serve on multiple town committees. And this may seem obvious to some people because the language of the proposed bylaw changes are: 1, that residents may serve on any number of multiple member bodies, meaning multiple commissions or committees. And 2, to encourage residents to volunteer on committees with no limit on the number of board and committees on which each resident can serve. As some of you know, the Select Board policy in force since July 2022 states that residents can serve on only 3 committees, including elected offices and committees appointed by the town moderator, unless there's an exception. So why are these citizens articles needed? In my mind and others, we should encourage experienced committee members to take on additional committees or 2 if they have time and the expertise to enhance coordination between projects, not discourage them. We should also aim to ensure that the town's committees and commissions have the total number of their members filled. I know you mentioned this earlier, Chair Brackett, that there are a lot of committees that still have openings, especially so that we can have quorums to allow the productive and critical work for the town. So when I saw reviewed the town's website yesterday, there were still 5 committees that had vacancies. Maybe there are even more. The current policy limits residents to serve on 3 committees, I think is actually detrimental to the work of the town. With a limited town budget, volunteers are critical to support the excellent work of town staff so that our collective work can grow and that we can secure more funding for our community. I think, as you know, I served on the Green Community Task Force for about a year, and that committee has brought in nearly $1 million since 2017 to the town for a variety of projects, and that's all additional resources to the town budget. So participation in committees with experienced volunteers should be encouraged, not discouraged. And I think that residents should have the freedom to serve on multiple committees. I know the Select Board does now have and will the authority to vet and appoint members. If a removal from a committee is necessary, the Select Board can do so, hopefully with uniform reasons such as non-attendance or non-performance of duties, but not by using the limit of 3 committees as the means to remove a volunteer. I don't think that residents should have to rely on exceptions to a policy to serve. They should have the freedom to serve on multiple committees. I know the Governance and Bylaw Committee has shared that the state law governs the powers of the Select Board. I agree, but we feel strongly that as residents, we must vote on what we want and believe is important for the best interests of the town. The bylaws also state that the Select Board is governed by additional powers and duties as may be authorized by the charter, bylaws, and other town meeting. So we want the Attorney General's office to make a ruling on this bylaw change and how it impacts the Select Board policy. Lastly, I'm unable to present the citizen article at town meeting on April 1st due to family reasons because I'm out of town, but I'm pleased to share that Diane Finch will be able to be the lead presenter.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions from the board or from the public? Seeing none, I'll just make one comment that so the public does know this has affected a total of 2 volunteers so far for the Board of Selectmen. One did get an exemption and one was denied an exemption for obviously different reasons. The meetings are recorded if anyone wishes to view those, but other than that, it's only affected 2 at this time. And as I said, there is plenty of positions open on the volunteer committees.
Mr. Chair, just a note, Ms. Amory was advised of this as well. When council did their review, council has indicated that it is certainly fine as the legal form, that it's in its structure to amend the bylaw, but it would not abridge the selectmen's ability to make appropriate policies, including the one that you have in place that was specifically posed to council.
All right. All right. Seeing no other comments or questions, we'll move on to the next one.
Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Chair.
Jenny.
Article Z, the quorum for the annual town meeting. Mr. Tobin, who is here.
All righty. How are we doing, Bill?
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this opportunity. It's very nice. Well, a quorum of 150 is in line with the Mass General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 13. The law says...
This will be the last one of these that I'll have to...
Go ahead.
Okay, we got an interference there in Florida. The chapter 39, section 13 law states it shall be a numerical situation that is a quorum. Currently, in our bylaw, it says those persons present for the Springtown meeting and the Fall Town meeting. The quantitative quorum is a democratic representation, which will not impede the operation of the town financially. Quote Laurie Kaiser. The absence of a quantitative quorum removes the right of the 6,167 of Rockport's registered voters representation in the town government. A quorum of 150 is 2.43% of the 6,167 registered voters. This small percentage would ensure democracy as our state law intends and is written. So we hope, and this was vetted, that none other than the founder of your law firm. And I thank you very much for his input on this very article. So thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just one note for Mr. Tobin regarding Laurie Kaiser's comment. I have the Government and Bylaw Committee's recommendation on the screen, and I think it may have just gotten switched a little bit. The committee's stance is that it would be legal and financial trouble if the meeting doesn't go forward. So I just wanted to put that out there based on what she submitted via email on March 13th.
Alrighty, thank you for that. Any questions from the board?
Mitch, you're talking about that it would not be prudent for us to go forward if
I'm not saying one way or another. I'm simply saying reading
Laurie.
what Laurie sent.
Can you repeat that, please?
The recommendation from the Government and Bylaw Committee on this article is GBL recommends unfavorable action on the articles because the annual town meeting is an essential meeting that must proceed if the town is to have a budget, which is required by law, and the town would be in legal and financial trouble if the meeting does not go forward. Fall town meeting allows for the realignment of finances between accounts if necessary and to allow the town meeting to distribute Community Preservation Committee funds. Fall town meeting not going forward would impede the operation of the town financially.
Okay, thank you.
And then any questions from the public? If not, I know if Bob or Mitch, I know you guys touched on this as we've had it in the past. We've had a quorum. Bob, you're unmuted if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Isnick, moderator. From my perspective, I think in this hyper-partisan world in which we live, I'm just concerned that, and we saw it from the podium, people were leaving so that they wouldn't be counted in a quorum vote. Then they came back in. And so I think that there would be a lot of potential for mischief were this to occur. And I've been around long enough to have attended meetings when there was a quorum requirement, and it slowed things down immeasurably. Of course, I would love to have participation in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, but we have what we have, and I think our business needs to go forward with the people that we have. And I think that there are other ways, and we've tried some of them. We haven't exhausted the pool of reasons, but we've tried things to try to get people to come in, have the meetings run briskly, and I'd be in favor of all sorts of crazy things like remote voting, but those are going to have to wait for future events. But this one worries me.
Alrighty, any questions from the public? All right, seeing Ellen.
She can't see. My hand is raised, yeah.
I'll let you talk after, Bill, because you're just
Thank
a petitioner, so I'm just to see if there's any questions from the public.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Ellen, you're unmuted.
thank you. Thank you. I mean, I just would like to understand what happened there. I mean, there is a serious problem with the number of people coming into town meeting and the interest that it seems to generate. I'm not entirely sure why it's, has no interest. It's kind of boring. It takes a long time. It's inconvenient. I mean, all those kinds of things. And now there's a suggestion of a different number of people, perhaps, to have still a quorum. I'm not understanding why the resistance to setting a proper quorum number and letting that be in Rockport's bylaws.
So what one of my understanding is, I'm not sure where Bob is exactly coming from. He can speak for himself, but from one stance from the governing bylaw is that we have to get the budget done and stuff like that. So at this time, it's only the annual town meeting that we're speaking of, is to get the budget done. And in one sense, I view it as, people have elected the elected officials, the board of selectmen, stuff like that, who then appoint their FinCom and stuff like that. So these are all, the budget's getting all reviewed. A lot of the public trusts the government and to do a proper job. And obviously we answer questions when the questions arise. So with that said, I mean, I'm not getting much of a resistance right now. Bob just said why he thought it wouldn't. That was just one person. So I'll let Bill touch on that. I know I think he wants to respond to Bob. So.
And Bill, just so you know, I just forwarded you the recommendation that government and bylaw sent, so you have the official committee stance.
Yes, but however, Mr. Administrator, that goes against the number of 150 in the Massachusetts law as well.
Yeah, I'm not taking a stance on it one way or another. I'm just letting you know.
No, I know, no, but
government
I'm
and
just
bylaw
saying,
submitted.
you are correct. They said that. Now, what's interesting about that is the Government and Bylaw Committee was founded by the town meeting, and they should be supporting the right of the people to have a quorum, which follows the mass law. And if we have made an incorrect law in the bylaws, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. Those persons present in no shape or form is a number. None. And I just simply want to take the word those and just say 150. Now that would make it consistent with every other meeting that we hold, especially special town meetings, which we just held. And we found out in the after effect of the special town meeting, yes, indeed, the planning board was not prepared properly for that meeting. And the people knew it, and they left. And all of a sudden, the chair of the select board himself called the quorum. Now, without a quorum number that is currently in the special town meeting bylaw, we would have never been able to resolve that meeting. We would have had a vote for I don't know what, but we wouldn't have had it. In this way, the 150 is a clear number, and it's extremely low. I mean, 2.43% of 6,000 registered voters, and you guys are so concerned about passing your budget and trying to get it done. However, don't forget now, this is not a budget for current money. This is not going to affect the town till July. And I think for the Government Bylaw Committee to decide this without any input from the people who wrote these articles and were vetted by town council properly is a disgraceful use of that committee. And that committee sent these things to you guys beforehand. And in fact, Mitch, you proved conclusively that you're using that committee's quoting.
Mitch isn't using anything. That's just.
I'm not using
simply-
anything.
I
I simply
as a-
read what was there
Well,
and I sent you
yes,
what they
you
said.
did.
Just so we're
Yes,
clear,
you
I asked, as a liaison of the government
So
bylaw, I
I
asked
just
them to
wanted to
submit
thank
their
you all.
stances.
And you have a lovely evening.
Thank
And
you.
I hope the town votes to have a number
All right.
in the
Thank you.
town meeting on April 1st. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Bye-bye. No, I'm done.
All right, seeing no more.
Okay.
Next article.
Article AA, citizen petition recall from Mr. Sepola. He sent you some information on that.
This is the recall petition. Obviously, Mrs. Zepplin's not here tonight. I'll take any questions on, if anyone has any or comments. He did send us something. I'm refraining from reading it now, but I'll get to that at the end of the articles. I see Toby raises his hand.
Thank you, Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. I was one of the people who signed the petition. I heard the discussion at the Government and Bylaw Committee meeting, at which time petitioners were not allowed to speak. They were only allowed to speak after the Government and Bylaw Committee had made its recommendations, and they recommended against this one. I don't think it's any threat to public officials, in case you were thinking of it personally. It requires only 20 people to get it going, to take out the papers, as it were, to be elected, in this case, to put somebody out of office. And that's a very low threshold. But then to actually get anywhere, you need 1/10 of the voters. So you're up to 600 plus people. So nothing rash is going to happen with this. If there are 600 plus people out there who think the town would be better off without your services, something is grievously, grievously wrong. And indeed, in that sort of a situation, you do want a townwide vote. The Government and Bylaw Committee also thought that it would cost the town money. As Mr. Sepola pointed out in his letter, it needn't cost the town anything. Town council isn't ordinarily involved in elections, and this is the same process in reverse. I think it's something that the town should have. It's like insurance. You don't expect that the roof will blow off your house or that it will burn down. But when such dire things happen, when you're faced with public officials who have actually abused the office, you need some form of government that will rid you of them. And I would point out that you have the ability to dispose of the services of people who you've appointed, and the voters are entitled to a similar process for those who are elected, who can't be touched otherwise. Thank you.
I'm just curious, how would you describe someone who has abused the office? Toby?
Someone who has broken, you go back to the oath that each of you swore
Sure,
after
no, I
you elected.
I totally get that. I get that.
Right. It says in it specifically, if you bothered to read through it, that simply differences of opinion, such as brought Bill Wagner low, are not sufficient reasons to remove anybody. So if you regard the reasons cited as the equivalent of an indictment in court, that's what it would be. You would cite offenses, and then it's up to the voters to decide, to be the judge. If you believe in democracy, it's a harmless endeavor.
Oh, I totally believe in democracy, but I'm just curious. So, like, give me an example of why someone from the Board of Selectmen, school committee, whatever, should be removed from office.
If you were helping yourself to the funds in any way.
Oh, of course, that's
right.
criminal. That's criminal.
Indeed, there are other things that are specified in the article.
Okay.
And
Thank you,
there
Joe.
may or may not be a phrase not limited to, I'm not sure. But, you know, it's not just we don't like you. That's not a reason for removing anyone.
Sure.
Thank you, Toby. I see town clerk. Melanie?
Hi, thank you. I was just curious, has it been clarified yet? Who makes the determination on an accusation for it to go from this 10 signatures to the 600 signatures?
Well,
I mean,
that, I was gonna comment on that and say, I would assume that town council would have to get involved for that process. And that's where the funds would be spent for this
Okay.
article.
Because I know I've
That-
been a couple of times and I haven't gotten a clear answer.
Yeah.
I mean, my office, I kind of, I'm the one that's gonna be handling the petitions, but it hasn't been clarified who makes that determination.
So I'll definitely ask the petitioner himself if he has any idea what other communities have done, or we'll ask our town council as well. But other than that, I think it'd be up to you, Melanie. So,
I mean, accusations about something that happened in executive session that I have no knowledge of, it's hard for me to think that, how can I say it's true or it's not, So
Yeah.
that's where I'm with myself making that decision. And I would definitely think that legal would need to be involved.
all right. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you.
I see Ellen again. All right,
Can you
Ellen,
hear
you're
me?
unmuted.
Thank
Yep.
you. I think the whole idea of elected officials, just once they're elected, they're in there for whatever their term is, whatever they want to do, is kind of undemocratic in and of itself. I suspect somewhere in the past, the legislature, probably in Boston, decided, let's make it so they have to have a law to, in fact, repeal an election. It's just a incumbent protection kind of policy that was probably put in place a long time ago. But it absolutely should hang over every selectman's head, that if you're not performing to the wishes of the people who have elected you, that they should indeed be able to unelect you. Now, maybe you have to go through an election, a second election, and lo and behold, you can beat it. And then, good luck to you. But the option should be in the hands of the people. They put you in, they can take you out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. All right, seeing no more, Mitch, we'll move on to the next one.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next one is citizens petition impacting ADUs. Diane Vella.
All right.
Ms. Vella is here. Yes, she's still here.
All right.
Hi, thanks again. This is Diane Vella, 17 King Street, and I'm representing the Rockport Affordable Housing Coalition. And this citizens petition is also supported by the planning board. I am asking that the select board approve this citizen petition to increase the ADU minimum rental period from 6 months to the standard 12 contiguous months. A 12-month rental of ADUs in Rockport will begin to plug some of the losses of rental housing that we have suffered through VRBOs and Airbnbs, which not only shrunk our year-round rental housing stock, but also has contributed to the closing of our historic inns. 12-month rentals promote entry growth in the rental housing market by filling the niche for small families, couples, and seniors. 6 months is still considered a seasonal rental. The 12-month minimum will support Rockport's affordable housing needs by increasing the housing stock and by moderating rental prices, as ADUs are smaller rental homes.
All right. Thank you, Diane. Any questions from the board or from the public? Tom?
Yeah, Tom Meekis, Vice Chair of the Planning Board. Just to confirm Diane's statement, the Planning Board did vote to support this article.
All righty. Thank you for that. Toby?
Thank you. Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Contiguous is spatial, and what you want is duration. So 12 succeeding months or something along those lines. That's an illiteracy courtesy of the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. And indeed, this is would be an improvement, but the whole thing was sold to the public on false pretenses that these would be affordable units. That's entirely wishful thinking, and there isn't a shred of evidence for it. In every case, we're talking about private property, and unless you're building or renovating one of these units for your aged grandmother or shiftless 20-year-old, you're going to get as much money as possible. So this is fine as an alteration, but it doesn't alter the fact that the ADUs are going to be rented for as much money as possible. And if you're being told that they're affordable housing, that's wishful thinking and nonsense. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Any other questions?
Do I get to respond to that, Chairman Brackett?
If you'd like to make a comment, yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the word affordable housing is difficult. You know, I think it was Bob Simmons talked about a capital A and affordable, which is determined by the state. And then there is affordable small a, which is like increasing the housing stock will eventually bring housing prices down. The size brings housing prices down, so that it is not a state affordable housing. It doesn't go toward our 10%. You know, that is not true. So I just wanted to say that we have no designs on that, but the research is pretty clear that this does eventually work. Bob had some really good things about the Portland, the website for different places have some very good things and some advantages for municipalities. So there's a lot of research out there that says that these do bring prices down. And it certainly increases our rental market. That's what we need here in Rockport. It increases that a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see Ellen.
No definition of affordable housing in state law?
Yes, there is. That the affordable housing in state law has a certain income levels, and that's not anything that we would that these ADUs don't require any income level in order to qualify. That these houses would, as Toby said, sell at rent at market rate. But because if we have more of these rentals and less of the Airbnbs, and to increase this market, then the hope and the research says it does bring housing prices down, particularly rental properties, because they're contained. We have to have a certain number or a square footage. It can't be a 1,200 square foot rental unit. It has to be smaller. I can't remember. It's 250 to 900 and some. I don't know, Tom, if you remember what the exact number is. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none. All right, Mitch. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next is citizen petition relating to an amendment to the zoning bylaw from Toby Arsenian. Mr. Arsenian is here relating to parking requirements.
All right, there he is. All right, Toby, you're unmuted.
Thank you. This is a section of the parking regulations titled conversion. And the first sentence indeed does relate to conversions from one use to another, and requiring you to meet the parking requirements for the changed use. The second section of this sentence, of this paragraph, which the petition would delete, says that if you have an abandoned industrial use or a hotel that was there as of a given date in 1974, I can explain that, the planning board couldn't, you're exempt from the parking requirements. It doesn't make any sense, nor is there any justice in exempting anyone from the parking requirements. The whole point of having parking regulations is that everyone toes the line and makes provision for the automobiles on private property. If you don't do that, instead of being a private responsibility, the cars become a public burden. They're out in the street, they're taking up spaces downtown, which you might use to park in if you wish to go to stores or buy donuts. And also you're taking up spaces that might be used by the tourists. Now, I don't care about the tourists, but you do. So it's transferring the responsibility from private owners who should providing the parking to public owners. And I went to talk to the building inspector to see how it would affect inns. And the answer on that is, if you have an inn with 20 rooms and you haven't provided parking for any of them, you're all in the clear. You're grandfathered. No one can touch you, nor should they. But if you add 2 rooms, you'll be required to provide the parking for the additional 2 rooms, not for 22, for 2. So this puts the burden back where it should be. And there is in the parking regulations, the very last section, I think it's H, provides that if you feel that your case is special and it's in some way a hardship, you can go and whine to the Board of Appeals and they can grant you exemptions from the parking regulations. And that is how you should get exemptions, not right off written into the regulations favoring some uses rather than others. I think that explains it.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board or the public? I'm seeing Ellen. All right, Ellen, you're unmuted. Ellen, you there? All right, we'll go to Tom.
The planning board voted to take no position on this.
All right. All right. Any other comments or questions? Seeing, is Toby's hand still up or is that from before? All right. Move on to the next one, Mitch.
Okay, Mr. Chair, next one is also an adjustment to the zoning bylaws with shared septic systems, also Mr. Arsenian.
All right.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. Up until the unfortunate town meeting last May, when we passed all sorts of changes to the zoning, the only thing in the zoning code about septic systems was a flat out prohibition. It's there in the special regulations section, which deals with all sorts of miscellaneous things. I think it's Roman numeral 6. And not paying any attention to what they were doing, and with the ill advice of the Metropolitan Planning Council, the planning board added into their new open space residential design a provision saying that where possible, we would encourage multiple lots to go into one septic system. Their thinking is that that would be more economical, and wishing to encourage such open space developments as opposed to plain ones, that would allow developers to cut corners and cut costs and so forth. The reason why we had a flat out prohibition before, and why we want to go on with that, is what happens when it fails. If 5 people are responsible for the septic system, in effect, no one is responsible. And the unfortunate Board of Health has to go after them. And it's complicated enough if you have one owner with a failed system, and just imagine 5 or even 2. One of them may be able to smell the overflowing broken system, and the other may not smell it. And the one that may not smell it may not be able to afford to fix it. And while it provides a stench to the neighborhood and a blight on the environment, and a hazard to public health, the Board of Health has to struggle with it, not the planning board. So it was a mistake to change it. And the planning board will tell you that if you don't allow developers to cut corners in this fashion, you may not get open space developments. That we had an open space residential development bylaw on the books for something like 15 years, and no one came forward to build one. And it's likely that no one will come forward to build one with the new regulations either, because the money just isn't in it. People who can afford large houses or houses of any sort in the outer suburbs want privacy, want large lots, and yeah, the planning board can pass regulations until we're all blue in the face, but if there isn't money to be made for it, out of it, developers are not going to build it.
Can't hear you, Russ.
I was asking for any input from the public or the board as usual. I see Tom.
Yeah, the planning board voted unfavorably on this. We think it should not go forward.
All righty, thank you. And then seeing no more, thank you, Toby. And I believe we have one more left, Mitch.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Article FF, the final one on the warrant, is a non-binding resolution from Mr. Arsenian regarding answering citizen questions during town meeting.
All right. Toby wants on. Yeah, he's still on mute.
Thank
Toby,
you.
if you want to.
Toby Arsenian, 95 Granite Street. You hope that people come to the town meeting well aware of the issues. Some of them, of course, have had a chance to read the warrant. Some of them have paid a lot of attention, been to committee meetings and know a great deal, and others come not knowing anything at all. And those people have exactly the same rights as those who have put a lot of time and effort into it. And if you get up on town meeting floor and ask a question of the DPW commissioners or the planning board or the Board of Selectmen, the finance committee, you're owed an answer. No one can force anyone to answer. This is non-binding because it's up to the moderator, and the moderator can do as he pleases, is what it amounts to. But really, the moderator owes it to the public and the meeting to remind the person of whom the question is asked that the question has been asked, and common sense and fair play and the wish that the people vote on the basis of information, not misinformation or simply prejudice, would dictate that you get the answers. It's not too much to ask. It's mom, the flag, and apple pie. You should applaud and vote for it.
All right, thank you, Toby. Any questions from the public or the board? All right, seeing none, and just to touch on tonight, I'm going to ask that the rest of the board, as you can tell, I haven't been asking for that much discussion between each article. I'm going to ask the two members that are here tonight if they don't mind holding our stances until we can get the other two members or one member with us for town meeting. And that can either happen in a meeting before town meeting, or we'll do it at the pre-meeting at town meeting, if that's all right with the rest of the board, and we can hold our discussion and our stances till then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, that's fine with me. I know we've done that in the past because it's important to get as many board members to contribute to this as possible. So happy to do that. And
again, I'll invite all the petitioners to that meeting, not to give a little rundown of it, but if there's any questions that the board will have to ask, I would like it if they're there at that meeting as well. So
yeah, and the
thank you for
members
that.
that aren't here can always watch this meeting, the recording of this meeting too.
Yep,
agreed.
Alrighty, thank you for that, and thank you for all the petitioners that spoke tonight. With that said, we're gonna move on to the consider approval of the RPS Give Back event.
Mr. Chair, you have an email in your packet from high school principal Amy Rose requesting the approval of the RPS Gives Back event for May 25th. Selectman Wilkinson has had some interactions with the principal.
Alrighty.
Yes, Principal Rose couldn't be here tonight because she's on her way to a conference, but I told her that I would pass along. The event is always usually held in May. This year, I'm trying to read the email at the same time. The date is Thursday, May 25th from 4 to 6:30. They're not sure yet how large scale they're going to do it, but at the least they'll have live music by students in Dock Square and tables of student work, jugglers, etc. So she's just looking for our approval. I'm trying to see. Oh, Selectman Murphy has the motion.
I do, but my
Want me to
computer
make
just
it?
went down. Do you mind, Sarah?
No,
Thank
not at all. Mr. Chair, I move that the board, I move that the board approve the RPS Gives Back event for May 25th, 2023 from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. with the same requirements as parameters as prior years.
I'll second that.
And just to add in, this is a really nice event that the school system does, kind of showcasing students' work. This past week, they had the student art show at the Art Association. This has like music and other performances, like I know the Juggling Club performs, and it's kind of a really nice, knock on wood, it usually falls on a really nice spring evening, and it's a neat way for the community to celebrate kind of the talents of our school kids.
You just ruined it because it's going to be a snowstorm now that you said good weather.
It's like, it's going to be like every other big
Yeah.
event in my life, that it's like a crazy nor'easter, but it's all good.
Yeah, no,
Even in a crazy nor'easter at this event, I'm like always blown away by the talent of our.
I concur with Selectman Wilkinson. It's a great showcase of our public schools and what they have to offer. So a tip of the hat to the public schools.
All right, we've had a motion and a second, so I'll do a roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson.
Aye.
Selectman Murphy.
Aye.
And Selectman Brackett votes aye, motion carries. Next on the agenda is to consider opt-in for early in-person voting for the 2023 annual election. And I think town clerk's still here to touch on that if you'd like.
Town clerk is here, Mr. Chair.
Alrighty.
Hi, thank you again, Mr. Chair. So as you know, the COVID pandemic made us try all different methods for voting, and vote by mail was the biggest change that came out of that. So last year, the Votes Act of 2022 took most of the changes, or a lot of the changes that were beneficial during that time, and made them law. Two of the biggest were in Chapter 92, it requires vote by mail. So all towns in Massachusetts have to offer vote by mail unless they opt to vote out of it. But early in-person voting it's not required, and you have to take a vote of the Board of Registrars, which we did a couple of weeks ago, and we voted unanimously to recommend to the board for you to authorize my office to offer early in-person voting. I've suggested 4 days, which is the week leading up to the local election. It will be regular office hours in my office. Early in-person voting doesn't produce a huge turnout, but the people that do utilize it, they're very appreciative of it. For whatever reason, they don't want to do vote by mail, or they can't be available on election day to go to the polls. This is just another option. I believe that we will probably have a really healthy turnout at this next local election. So I think that it's best to offer as many ways possible to get as many votes and as many voices heard. So
all right,
I ask for your participation.
All right, do you have any questions from the board? If not, I'll take a motion.
No, I even though I'm a candidate for re-election, anytime you can have lots of people voting, I don't see how that hurts the democracy process. So thank you, and I look forward to being part of this. So thank you, Melanie, for all your hard work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, would you like a motion?
Please.
I move that the board opt in for early voting for the 2023 annual election as recommended by the town clerk and board of registrars.
Second.
Right, roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. All right. More work for you, Melanie.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
All right. That's it for the action items. Next up is a update from the town administrator and the board of selectmen. I'll have Mitch go first.
Nothing, thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing, a major report, nothing different from the last update right now. We are 100% in preparing for a town meeting next week. So we're fully immersed in the booklet, getting the warrant posted and all of the supporting materials. So that we have been 100% on that. So nothing further to share at this time.
All right. Any updates from the board?
Not tonight, thank you.
All right, I'll open it back up to any public comment that they may have. And Tom?
Just a small suggestion. When you post the warrant, could you do it in a readable PDF file? Usually it's in a scanned version that's not searchable. And with a long warrant, it's a lot more helpful to be able to search.
We will give that a shot. We have some technical issues with the MAPC piece of it with the zoning articles, which made it a challenge. I had tried to do that for this last one and it didn't quite work. We'll give it another shot with IT, see what we can do.
Oops, sorry.
Nope, not on the planning board at all. It was not with the board itself.
All right, and then Toby?
Thank you. When will the hard copy version of the warrant be available?
Toby, give us a call tomorrow. We'll know.
Okay, thank you. And a suggestion about the Rockport Gives Back that I've made several times before. I don't know whether anyone acted on it. It's very nice that the kids do all this, and I think people enjoy it. And in such circumstances, one ought also to think of the poor old people stuck in the Denmark who can't get out to enjoy such things. And could you ask Amy Rose if they might possibly send some of the kids over there so that the old people who are stuck there can also enjoy it?
So can I comment on that? So Toby, I don't believe Denmark is reopened yet after the flood, right, Mitch?
That's correct. It is not currently
Yeah, so
open.
there's no one there, but Toby, I will tell you that both of my sons, one is in the middle school jazz band and one is in the high school jazz band. And the middle school jazz band this winter walked over to the school and they played outside, and everyone at Denmark came to their windows and they had a great visit and played with them. But I'll pass that on for future once the facility is back open. But I'm not sure if it was maybe from your suggestion, but they've been doing that and it's been a huge hit.
Thank you. That's good.
All right, thank you, Toby. And seeing no more, I'll take a motion to adjourn, as there is no executive session tonight.
So moved.
I make them up, so moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, roll call vote. Selectwoman Wilkinson,
Aye.
Selectman Murphy,
Aye.
and Selectman Brackett votes aye. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night, everyone.